Hey, what's going on everybody? My name is Monotui, coach of the Tampa Bay Luxrays, and today I'm bringing you guys our PPL Season 5 Week 2 match versus Jordan, coach of the Southampton Sneasels. However, as you can see here, our opponent is actually going to be Rizzypow. The reason for this is kind of confusing, but basically, I was very busy this weekend, as is Jordan as usual. And we got to the point where Sunday came around and I was unable to play on Wi-Fi. He was unable to play on Showdown, so we kind of had a problem there. Originally, I was supposed to get a replacement so that this game could be played on Wi-Fi. However, it was late for him and it was kind of close to the upload day, so he was like, no problem, I'll just get a replacement and you can play him on Showdown. So that's what we decided to do, and as you can see, Riz actually ended up stepping in for him, and that is who we are going to be playing for Week 2 of the PPL. Now, once again, apologize that there is no team builder. Like I said, I had a ridiculously busy weekend. For a quick team breakdown, however, we have a Choice Banded Victini, very similar set to last week. In fact, I think it's pretty much identical. Jolly Max Speed to possibly Speed Tie with the Manaphy, V-Create, Bolt Strike, U-Turn, and Flare Blitz just in case I don't want to lower my speed. We have a very interesting Gliscor set. If you look at Riz's team, he does not have a flying type or a single ground resist. That is also correct in his other two Pokemon. His other two Pokemon that he did not decide to bring are Electabuzz and Amoonguss. So his entire roster has no ground switching at all. So this Gliscor that we ended up bringing is Double Dance, Swords Dance, Agility, Roost, and Earthquake. I have no other need for any other attack unless something on his team is running an Air Balloon. Then we have our Mega Venusaur. We're running fully special defensive, but with a relaxed nature, just because I wanted to be able to take special hits very well from the Kyurem, as well as possibly like a Spec Sylveon, as well as from things like the Manaphy, but I also wanted to be able to take hits from things like the Blaziken if I had to, as well as the Excadrill in case he was like a Swords Dance Excadrill. The moveset on that is Sludge Bomb, Giga Drain, Knockoff, and Synthesis. That deals with a good majority of his team. It can kind of deal with the Sylveon, can kind of annoy the Sableye depending on what it is. It can take on the Manaphy before a Tail Glow, and it can take on the Excadrill relatively well. Even the Manaphy has to have the Psyche and Z move in order to knock me out with +3 Psychic, so that's definitely very good for me. We do have the Psychic type as well to possibly absorb that Z move, but that's our Mega Venusaur. We have Physically Defensive, Calm Mind, Shadow Ball, Rest, Sleep, Talk, Cofagrigus. He did not have a very good Ghost Switch in either. Like his best, in fact no, he doesn't have a Ghost Resist on his entire team either, so this is going to be very, very useful for his team. If I can set up a couple Calm Minds, I can beat the Kyurem, I can beat the Sylveon, I can beat the Mega Sableye, assuming it's not Calm Mind, I can beat the Excadrill, I can possibly beat the Manaphy depending on how many Calm Minds I have up before he gets off a Tail Glow. I obviously deal with the Blaziken and things like that, so this is a very, very big threat to his team. He could set up on a good number of his team, as well as just switch into hits if I needed to. And then, as you can see there, we have a Swampert. And like I said, because ground is so good against his team, we are actually running a max speed Adamant Swampert. And this is a really cool set. Max speed Adamant. Max speed Adamant allowed me to outspeed a timid Electabuzz by 1 point, which is very, very nice. And this is actually a very big offensive threat versus his team. Like, it 2-KOs or OHKOs pretty much everything on his team, bar like a bulky Manaphy, or bulky, like fully physically defensive Sylveon, maybe a bulky Kyurem, maybe even like a bulky Sableye. But if I get chip damage on a few things, Swampert can actually be a late game sweeper, which is going to be really funny. Plus it is still very naturally bulky, so I can switch it in on hits such as Excadrill's Earthquake, or maybe even like a Kyurem Ice Beam, or a Blaziken High Jump Kick, which is going to be very useful. But this is a really cool set, and I'm really happy to use it. Hopefully it'll be able to put in work. And then we also have a very interesting Hydreigon set. We are actually 2 attacks, Dark Pulse, Iron Tail, which hit pretty much the entirety of his team. He also doesn't have a Dark Resist on his roster, bar the Sylveon, which is very nice. We are Steelium Z, and then we have Work Up and Roost. Work Up is there so that I can possibly beat like a Calm Mind Sableye, so I can set up versus things like the Excadrill. I can set up versus the Manaphy because he can't knock me out unless he's +3 with Ice Beam. I outspeed the Kyurem, so after I get up to +1, I'll be able to knock that thing out with a Corkscrew Crash. Work Up is also there because in case he wants to switch into a Sylveon, I can knock that thing out with a +1 Corkscrew Crash as well, which is very, very nice. And we have Roost so that we have some sustain, so we can Roost up versus some things like the Sableye, as well as possibly the Excadrill, things like that. So that's going to be the team. As you can see, Riz decided to bring his Manaphy, Excadrill, Mega Sableye, Sylveon, Kyurem, and Blaziken. Obviously my 2 ground types are going to be very, very threatening versus his team, and he really doesn't have a good switch into Banded V-Create either. Like, his best switch into Banded V-Create is maybe like a physically defensive Manaphy, but if he's Fizz Def, then Bolt Strike will be able to knock him out afterward. Bolt Strike will be able to knock him out because obviously I will be faster because I'm Jolly Max Speed. So, without further ado, let us just hop into the game. I'm going to lead with my Hydreigon, as he is going to lead with his Sableye. And here, just to gauge the damage, I'm going to go right for the Dark Pulse. Also, I have no idea why Sableye's picture just turned into nothing, but he's going to go for the Recover, possibly scouting for a Draco Meteor, as I'm going to go right for a Workup, as he is going to go right for the Shadow Ball, which I'm going to take easily, because obviously I resist. And then what I'm going to do is go for an Iron Tail, actually getting the defense drop as he goes for a Calm Mind. Now, I should have gone for the Corkscrew Crash here instead of another Workup, but after revealing Calm Mind, Shadow Ball, and Recover, I was like, there's no way his last move is Dazzling Gleam, even though that makes absolutely no sense, because that's exactly what he would have, because that's, you know, his best way to hit Hydreigon. That would absolutely make sense. I don't know why I thought that, but we did succeed in weakening his Sableye, which is really, really nice, because now I can just click Banded Recreate, and Blaziken is not going to happily switch in. That is going to do so much damage, and he's just not super happy about that. And now I can go right out in my Swampert, as he makes a good play and goes for Baton Pass, switching out. Unfortunately, I can't knock out the Sableye with the Earthquake. It looks like he's pretty much fully physically defensive, based on the Iron Tail damage earlier on, so I'm going to go into Victini expecting the Recover, and then I'm going to go for U-Turn, putting him in range of V-Create later on, and then I'm going to go right out into my Gliscor, because I know he does not have Will-O-Wisp, and I don't think he'd go for it here anyway. So we're in with Gliscor. I'm going to go for the Earthquake, just because I don't want him to hard switch out into Kyurem. As you can see here, he does go Kyurem as I hit him with the Earthquake, and we're going to get a little bit of damage off onto him, which is very nice. He is now in range of +2 Earthquake later on. We're also Jolly Max Speed on our Gliscor, so we will at least be able to Speed Tie with this Kyurem. But I'm going to go into Kofag as he goes for the Ice Beam. I'll be able to take that relatively well, and then I'm just going to fire off a Shadow Ball, because once again, this Shadow Ball damage 100% puts him in range of Banded V-Create from Victini, and that's exactly what I'm going to switch into here, expecting him to either go for Recover or go for the Shadow Ball. He does end up going for the Shadow Ball. I can take it, and then we can just fire off a V-Create afterwards and do a lot of damage to him, but he instead decides to stack off his Blaziken, which I'm very okay with. Blaziken's still a pretty big threat to my team, could really hurt the Venusaur, could knock out Victini with an Earthquake from where it's at, so there's that. He's going to send in his Excadrill. I wanted to click V-Create again, expecting maybe Rocks, but I didn't want to risk him just going for Earthquake or Iron Head or something like that, so I'm going to go out into Swampert, and now, because he thinks I'm a defensive Swampert, he's going to go into his Mega Sableye to try and deflect back the Rocks, but because I am Choice Scarf, Max Attack, Adamant, we will be able to 2-hit KO that Sableye, and that's really, really nice for me. Now he's going to send out his Kyurem. I can take a hit from this thing, so I'm just going to go for an EQ, as he actually ends up revealing the Reflect. And now I can go for another Earthquake, but he can send in his Manaphy at this point. Very good prep on his part, bringing Reflect on Kyurem. That's going to be super annoying for my Swampert. However, I need to get damage off onto this Manaphy, so I'm going to hit him with 2 Earthquakes from behind the Reflect, put him a little bit below 50%, and then I'm basically just going to sack my Cofagrigus. I have to sack something at this point, and I don't want it to be my Swampert, so I'm just going to let him knock out my Cofagrigus, and then what I'm going to do is go into Victini, risk the Speed Tie, go for Bolt Strike, and knock him out. As you can see here, he actually hard switches into his Excadrill. I'm very okay with that, because that means his Manaphy is not going to be set up on the next turn, which is very nice. And what I can do is go out into my Gliscor on the Excadrill. However, he pulls a very good switch and goes out into his Kyurem. But because I had sped earlier, I'm thinking maybe he's more bulky, so I can knock him out with this Earthquake. But no, unfortunately I'm unable to. Makes sense, that's about the roll that I got last time, and now he's obviously behind a Reflect. So what I decided to do here, expecting him to want to go for another Roost, I'm just going to sack my Victini, and then because this thing is actually looking like a pretty big issue to my team, like it can pressure stall out a lot of things, my plan right now is basically going to make a Venusaur and click Sludge Bomb until I get a Poison on this thing. So as you can see here, he's going to go for Light Screen. Actually, no, I go for Knock Off first to get rid of his Light Clay so that his screens will last a shorter amount of time. And then I'm going to go for Sludge Bomb trying to get the Poison, and fortunately I do, which is very nice. I would have gotten it eventually, but, you know, obviously getting it early is very nice for me. And then I'm going to click Sludge Bomb on the Sylveon. Because the light screen is up, and Sylveon has very good natural special defense, he actually will be able to start setting up Calm Minds on me, which is a little bit scary. However, because Mega Venusaur is super bulky, I'll be able to kind of deal with it 1v1 anyway, and here I'll be able to get rid of this thing's leftovers, so he's going to be taking 12% with the Poison. The light screen is going to end relatively soon, but because he does have the Calm Mind, he will be able to boost his Split F to the point where the light screen is not going to be very important soon. So instead, I decide to go out into my Gliscor in order to take him on, and here, expecting him to want to go for a Protect or another Calm Mind, I'm going to go right for a Swords Dance, because he cannot knock me out with a +1 Hyper Voice at this range, so I wanted to get up to +2 so that I can do the most damage to him on the following turn. As you can see here, he did go for that second Calm Mind. I go for the Earthquake, do a lot of damage to him, And he's not going to kill me with Hyper Voice because he accidentally forgot to put, what's it called? What's that move called? Fucking, not the move, thing that makes Fairy yell important thing. Pixelate, that thing, yeah. Not having Pixelate didn't matter too much because I would have just gone into Swampert and knocked it out anyway. But it is just kind of annoying for him. But what I can do now is go back out into my Swampert, outspeed this Manaphy, knock him out with the Earthquake, which is really nice. And now basically, because of the poison on Kyurem, I will be able to spam Earthquake in order to win this game. Earthquake's going to do about 40% on the first one. He's still taking a little bit of damage with that, and that ended up actually being a min roll. As you can see here, this Earthquake is going to do a lot more than that. And he will be able to roost again, but unfortunately for him, pressure is not going to help him enough to the point where I'm going to run out of Earthquakes before he loses. So he's going to go for a Reflect here as a last-ditch effort. Even if he had gone for Roost there, I would have knocked him out with the next Earthquake, so it didn't matter. And then he's going to send in his Excadrill, and I'm going to end up critting him from behind the Reflect. That didn't really matter because obviously he couldn't knock me out, and I 2 KO'd him. And I did have my Mega Venusaur in the back in case anything got really bad, but that's going to be the game. Scarf Swampert putting in a ton of work versus Riz and his team, which is really nice. I'm really glad I actually came up with that, because I saw how big of a threat it actually could have been. Offensive ground types really kind of hurt his team, and I decided to kind of make a makeshift offensive ground type in the form of a Scarf Swampert, and it ended up putting in a lot of work, which is really nice. As for misplays on my part, I guess the only thing that I could have done better is earlier on play with the Hydreigon a little bit better. After him not going for Dazzling Gleam in so long, I figured he kind of didn't have it, but it kind of just made sense for him to have it. Calm Mind, Shadow Ball, Dazzling Gleam, pretty much the only thing he needs versus my team, and it was a very good bring on his part. And other than that, I think I played this game very well. I think I prepped very well, particularly with the Swampert, and the Venusaur definitely helped out a lot. Banded Victini was just a giant problem. Even the Gliscor was able to put on some offensive pressure earlier on, dealing with the Sylveon, as well as outspeeding the majority of his team. In fact, outspeeding literally everything except for the Manaphy, which is very useful. So, you know, that's that. That's going to be the game. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Next week, we are going up against Ruby Mara, so definitely check out that. We'll definitely try and get a team builder up before the game. I really want to, but these last couple of weekends have been really hectic. School's starting to pick up a lot. But I'll definitely do my best, and I hope you guys will understand that if there's not a team builder, I'm sorry, but regardless, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.